Since AI and innovative storytelling are at the heart of today's discussion, we thought we'd have some fun and embrace the technology theme by bringing you this conversation through AI-powered animated avatars. To be clear, our speakers today are real industry experts. We're simply using AI animation to bring their insights to life in a fresh, engaging way. In the spirit of the creative disruption we'll be exploring, we're experimenting with this innovative approach to our new web series format. So sit back and enjoy this unique blend of cutting-edge marketing insights delivered through the magic of AI animation, powered by genuine human expertise. Let's dive in.
Hi, good morning. Hi, Peter, Jessica. Thank you for having me on this awesome thought leadership series. My name is Bill Devaris. I am the co-CEO of Malka, which is a company that's part of the Gen portfolio, which includes MoneyLion, LifeLock, Avast, and Norton. I also work within the engine offering at MoneyLion, where we deliver adaptive content at speed solutions for a lot of different financial insurance companies in the world. So we're all about delivering content at scale, but very, very, very fast. Great to be here.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Jessica?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm Jessica Manna. I am VP of Growth Marketing here at Better. Better.com is a digital fintech in the mortgage space, first digital mortgage lender to hit 100 billion in originations. Great to be with you, Peter and Bill.
Okay, so let's dive right in. I want to start talking about Betsy. And this, I was actually just on your website earlier today and was listening in on some of the interactions that Betsy does. It's really quite impressive. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about how it came to be. What was the vision around developing Betsy? And explain what it is as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill or Peter. I'll start with what is Betsy. So Betsy is Better's first loan consultant. I think really the first virtual loan consultant in the mortgage industry, and she acts as a virtual assistant, helping customers both on the inbound and the outbound side to handle their mortgage questions, to lock a loan, to take an application, and I'd say the what Betsy is doing today both is on the inbound and outbound side and having those real conversations with borrowers, but also internally Betsy's an AI chat with loan officers, with underwriters, with processors to resolve borrower problems and to help the transaction go really smoothly. So when you ask about what's the history with Betsy, I'll say the history really predates me. I joined Better really just at the time Betsy was about to launch. But I can say, from my experience and having been in mortgage now for about 2 decades, I'll tell you what the common challenges are that lead to needing to do something like this. And finally, having the technology advance to a point where you can do it. You have all these externalities, right? The cost of running a call center is very high. The cost of outsourcing a call center is very high. You need 24/7 availability to service customers and to meet them where they're at, because quite frankly, that's everybody's expectations today. But in the mortgage space, you have loan officers have to be licensed in individual states, right? And there's 50 of them. So you have all of these unique challenges where customers want to talk to somebody, they want to get their questions met, they really want to do that when and where they want to do it, but the cost of fulfilling that is very high. In the lead generation and marketing space, you have all of these other challenges that cause a need to solve problems like Betsy is designed to solve. And that is that leads are very expensive, especially when interest rates are high and there's fewer people looking for a home, fewer people wanting to refinance. And the competition for those is very high. So you have to be very fast, and you have to be very fast when the customer wants you to be. And that might be Saturday at 9:30 in the morning or Sunday at 2 in the afternoon. So those are all the things happening externally and internally at mortgage lenders that create a need to have a voice agent and to be able to respond to customers in real time.
Right, right. Okay, so to what you, Bill, I'd love to kind of get your perspective on Betsy. I mean, you've had a little bit of a look at it as well. We discussed it a few weeks ago when we had our prep call for this. What's your reaction?
My reaction is I think we're looking at the future now, which is, this always on, personalized, authentic, human-like experience is what's needed, especially when you're a platform like Better, who promises not just an incredible easy but fast experience, but also the best prices, the best rates, and does all the work for you. So I think the more human, the more authentic, the more um, comprehensive the experience, the better. And I think what Betsy is doing now um, is only going to get even. It's training, right? Like we're just training our models now. So I'm so excited about where, Jessica, where Betsy's going, because the more and more you train, the more you learn and the system learns. It's just going to make getting a mortgage one of the most pleasurable things you've ever done, which is a really odd thing to say,
Right.
um,
Usually
but
the
why
most
not?
painful thing
But
we've
why
ever done.
not, right? Like why
Yeah.
why couldn't it be as easy as picking up some ice cream for the kids, right? Like it should be fun, it should be pleasurable, and I think it's just the beginning of training.
Right.
Yeah, you tapped into something there, Bill, and you're exactly right. Betsy's capabilities are increasing exponentially month after month after month. When Betsy first rolled out, I think it was maybe September or so, or that was the first call that I heard was in September. My mind was blown away because at that point she was calling very quickly, and you'd hear this call, and the customer is like amazed. Oh my gosh, how did you do that? How did you call so quickly? Well, that's table stakes at this point, right? And so to be able to then ask questions, put those answers into databases so somebody doesn't have to ask that question again, to now, most recently, she can take a full loan application, pull credit, quote interest rates, answer other questions, and lock a loan. So it is really mind-boggling to see the progression month after
It
month. You
is
couldn't be more
amazing.
right about that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And in fact, I could not tell it wasn't a human when I listened to those conversations that are on your website, and I felt like there was just no way to know that that wasn't a human, because it was just the tone of voice was great. It was human like the quick responses. It was just like you're having a normal conversation, which I thought was quite impressive. But anyway, let's talk about um, the data, and what are some of the things you can tell us about how Betsy is already. I know it's only been what, like 8 months or so since it was launched, but can you tell us sort of how it's impacted your business metrics, like, conversion rates, that sort of thing?
Sure. And Peter, I'd say the first real impact is just availability, being able
Right.
to answer a call in seconds, any time of day, 24 by 7. And the business impact there is, in marketing, you're used to throttling leads, turning leads off at certain hours of the day, or turning them down at certain times of the day, or turning down your advertising, day parting it, et cetera. And really, you want your advertising to be seen when the eyeballs are there, when the interest is there, when the awareness is there. And so I think that's the first impact I think about, is being able to answer 100% of calls in real time, not missing them. And where it used to be, you'd see up to 40% of missed calls at certain hours of the day, nights and weekends in particular. So that's the first business impact. I think beyond that, there was this world in which, maybe we were not as competitive as we could have been in multi-match leads, a lead that's going to three, four, five different lenders at the same time. And now we've been much more successful with those, being able to increase our volume on that type of lead, where in the past it was, not something that we really wanted to participate in. And I think in the first round, we saw maybe an increase of 320% on a lead to application rate, and
Wow.
200% on a lead to fund rate. just from that impact alone. So those are
Wow.
some of the business impacts, but really it goes deeper than that today with the rollout of Betsy internal chat to our loan originators, underwriters, and processors, because they are leveraging Betsy to actually solve borrower problems on loan files, clear suspended files, and help to make sure that any customer who is able to can get into the right loan structured the right way. So that's an entirely different set of business impacts that's been incredible to see.
Right, right. So before we move on from Betsy, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and this is it's personalization, because obviously Betsy, I imagine, will treat every single person individually, looking at the data from that person. Maybe you could talk about how that personalization, how does it go from the first interaction and deepen throughout the customer journey?
Yeah. So first of all, it starts with Betsy knowing who you are when you call in. Betsy is sitting over Tin Man. Tin Man is our proprietary comprehensive AI powered platform. And Tin Man includes not just a loan origination system, but a loan origination system, CRM, pricing engine, eligibility engine, QC system, document engine. I could go on, closing, point of sale, et cetera. And I think, to have access to all of that data in one place when a customer calls in, Betsy already knows who you are, can help you to two-factor authenticate, and then answer the right questions. So that level of personalization is really fantastic. And then I think on the, you mentioned it, Peter, on the empathy warmth side, Betsy can chit chat around what you want to chit chat. I mean, I heard her have a really interesting conversation about a podcast called Red, White, and Booze that somebody was listening to. So you're right, it can be very, very highly adaptive.
Right, you're not worried about wasting someone's time too, because Betsy can
Mhm.
just go and talk for 10 minutes if you're not, it's not taking away from other clients. So that's really cool. Okay. So I want to move to you, Bill, and talk about another area of AI, and that is like AI powered content feeds. That's really, I think, MoneyLion's been a pioneer here. Um, Maybe you could talk about how that differs to what has been known as like traditional content delivery.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it's a very similar conversation to the one we're having about Betsy and how things are evolving. And it's really because of consumer needs and consumer wants. And today, many apps are transaction and account-based apps. They were launched as apps of utility. And what we're realizing is that uh, personalized delivery of content and in a social like feed is actually driving brand new metrics that really matter for businesses, like daily active users, time spent, habitual returns to the app more than, once a month, right? You're seeing so many apps out there, very big blue chip companies that are kind of stuck in this dormancy mode where the client or the customer is not coming back, right? It's not part of their daily routine. And what's so exciting about what MoneyLion's done with Malka is we've been able to build a personalized social like experience content feed, taking all the attributes of the top social channels in the world from like IG or Meta or even Reddit, and build that functionality into a financial marketplace app. And it's literally become a media channel for MoneyLion. Has built a media channel with over 40 million impressions a week. It's driving revenue to extreme heights. It's become the most revenue driving tab within the app. And now there's this habitual behavior of coming back because we're not just selling, we're also entertaining and engaging our customers with personalized content that we know they need and want. So there's a lot of intent around credit building or budgeting or understanding what a stock is. And, as we know, in the finance world, um, people are just so hungry for information, but it's not what we call eat your broccoli information. We've made it exciting. We've made it very social like. And now people are kind of addicted to it the way they're addicted to their Instagram.
So does that, so are people actually using it like that? Like you see people, going through my kids, for example, they're just going through
Yeah.
Instagram for half an hour to an hour. Are people actually engaging in
Yes.
your apps like that?
Yes. Yes. Since since inception, 2.5, 3 years ago now, Malka's helped launch MoneyLion's feed. Um, you know, Traffic and time spent have gone up to like 380%, 400%. Returning, we finally have, we have a daily active user number, meaning we are tracking the value of a daily active user. That means that people are actually like the thesis was that people would come back, and they are. And it has a lot to do with diversity of content. Because if you just publish offers, you're just kind of Groupon and you're just a coupon scroll. We are literally mimicking TikTok for finance.
Hmm. That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And then the interesting part is there's a logged out version, which means a lot of MoneyLion's customers, the insight is that they come from social. So they waterfall right into a natural social-like experience within the app. So instead of going to a brochureware app or a utility transaction account-based app, you're going into something familiar. You're waterfalling back into a social feed.
Interesting. So are other financial institutions using these like personalized AI powered content feeds?
Yeah, I think everyone's working on theirs, honestly. Some of our we have a client, Stifel Financial, who launched theirs this year in January with great success. They're a completely different sector of business. They're for affluent wealth management. They're using their feed as a way to strengthen the bond with their clients to make sure that they're serving news, insights, and research in a timely fashion. As you know, you're watching CNBC and things can get, you're either happy or sad within minutes, right? They found that their feed has now become one of the most visited parts of their app because people could actually self-serve and browse research and insights without having to bother their FA.
Right, right,
And that's become now they're going into the next phase of development, which is how to serve their consumers with FA curated content so that I'm getting curated content directly from my financial advisor as if they liked it or shared it.
right, right. Okay, so Jessica, just turning to you, I don't believe you're using one of these AI powered content feeds yet, but obviously you're very. It sounds like you've gone all in on AI technology. What's your reaction to what Bill's been describing?
It's so exciting, and the engagement metrics really aren't a surprise, right? Uh, People will spend hours watching Clean Talk. Do you know what this is? It's like TikTok about cleaning, right? So people want to eat their broccoli. They just want it to taste like they want it to taste. It's no surprise. It's incredibly exciting. People are hungry for high quality content as long as it's personalized and relevant to them. I think as brands, we're trying to think of how to become a media company overnight and how to create hundreds or thousands of assets very quickly when before you could take a 6 or 8 or 12 week cycle to produce a limited number of high quality assets. Now you have to produce a high number of high quality assets, and the time compression on that is just astronomical. So I'm very excited by it. I think Bill, you guys tapped into something here, and it's solving real problems for consumers, for people who are just looking to up level their lives in many different ways. And whether it's Stiefel or MoneyLion or Better, searching for that content on how to do it is
Yeah.
paramount today.
Well, one thing to add, Jessica, another interesting finding from doing this, not only was it a great product experience like Betsy, there's product metrics, right? And conversion
Hmm.
metrics and purchase metrics. We realized that there was also a byproduct, which is because you're generating such snackable, cool content at scale, you could also aftermarket on your TikTok and on your IG. So the following, right? So when people start, app users start to follow you on TikTok because they like what you're doing on TikTok and the app,
Mhm.
or there's so much good content coming out of the feed back into TikTok. MoneyLion's TikTok now is closing in at, I think it's at 4 million followers, which is astronomical for a finance app,
Right.
let alone a brand. And it has a lot to do with this kind of viral loop from the app to social. So it, it's almost like the world is expecting all of us to deliver
Yes.
that the experience. They're expecting all of us to deliver a next best content browsing experience. And if they like it, they also follow you, which is I
Mhm.
think like the holy grail for us, right, Jessica? Like
Yeah.
we want that community to not just take a mortgage, but you know, recommend us and follow us and be part of our community.
Absolutely. And to add real value. As a brand, you're really thinking about, not just bringing people in, but how do I ensure I'm really adding value? I'm differentiating, I'm helping them solve real world problems, right? Better's entire mission is to make the mortgage process easier, faster, and more affordable through technology, right? Through an AI-based platform. And so you are thinking about, okay, that isn't just something we have to deliver on through technology and as a platform. It's something I have to deliver on as a marketer, right? How do I ensure that I'm adding value in the marketing and not just being a bullhorn?
Yeah.
Also, it's going to be what you're famous for at the end of the day,
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right?
Huh.
So, yeah.
So then, like, maybe a question I'd love to have get both your perspectives because how do you approach the automation component? Like, um, obviously, to do this at scale, what Betsy's doing, it's obviously highly automated. And what you're doing with the content engine too is highly automated. How are you balancing this automation with the human touch that we've all kind of, enjoyed in the past in financial services?
You want to take that one, Jessica?
Sure, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
We've got lots of humans, so I can definitely take that one. I think I mentioned before that Tin Man is that centralized AI-powered platform, right? It's a single centralized end-to-end system, that allows AI-driven decisioning to happen in real time with, almost no latency between Betsy and the data. But at a certain point, whether that's early in the process or after a customer locks, they do want to talk to a person in most situations.
Mhm.
In most situations, a customer, whether it's on a first call or on a follow-up call, they do want to talk to somebody. So Betsy's very attuned at identifying somebody who is ready to speak with a loan officer, and then she can transfer that call in real time, a warm transfer where she's actually chit-chatting with them while the phone is, the customer doesn't even know that she's actually already engaged that call. So the loan officer's phone is ringing, a single person's phone is ringing, the best right person to take that
Great.
call while Betsy's engaging in chit chat while we wait for your loan officer. Tell me a little bit about your day, or how are you, or those sorts of questions, and then getting them to the right person at the right time. And I think that's the magic in all of this. It's not robots or humans, but robots and humans, AI and humans, machines and humans, each doing what they're best to do, and to help at the right place in the process.
Mm.
Yeah. On Peter, on our side, it's similar, except it's a little different because we're trying to create also art, right? Which is weird, right? Like we're not just trying to create messaging. So we have like we almost have like a brand new practice this year that is all around AI workflows. And it's really about designing like we've gone this year, this calendar year from like working in like really smart templates and pre gaming and creating all the social cards and trying to templatize as much as we can, productizing the feed so that we could stand it up in 90 days. But um, now it's about creating custom AI workflows where actually we pilot a new type of content. Once we perfect it, we now could do it for any brand and on any topic through the power of Gen AI. So
Mm.
essentially, imagine I created this incredible video genre or style for IBM. I now put it in the inventory and say, if I ever wanted to generate that type of video again, let's say for better, all I got to do is go back to my workflow setup and just change the narrative and the brand guidance, and it generates the same genre of video.
What's the
What's the
compression on
compression
that?
on that?
Taking
Taking
it
it
from
from
development
development
in
in
X number
X
of
number of
days
days
down to
down to
how
how
quickly?
quickly?
Yeah, so we have two phases. We have phase one is discovery, which is
Mhm.
within 2 weeks, we try and do discovery of like what is this, this video that we're gonna love because it takes a lot of prompting to develop a great Gen AI video that you love. And then we go into what we call manufacturing. And manufacturing is to archive our prompting protocol.
Mhm.
Then we could generate that same video, not in 2 weeks, but in 30 minutes to 15 minutes or even 10 minutes. So once you've gone through discovery, it's like it's almost like you create this beautiful doll and then you put it on the shelf and you say, now I have all these toys on the shelf and I could go grab them anytime and replicate that video for any brand. So again, we're almost in perpetual discovery phase on Gen AI content video pilots. And then when we nail them, we put them into our manufacturing stage and say we could always pull them as inventory.
Mm.
So yeah, the turnaround times once you've developed the video are, less than 6 hours.
That's yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we are living in a brave new world. That there's no question about that. So, but just on that, do you think how do you think customer expectations are changing now that people people know that there's Gen AI, people know that things are easier to do than before. So are consumers now expecting like more personalized experiences than before?
I definitely think so. And I think it's not just influenced by, the category that you're in. It's actually the influence is larger from other categories. It's from your customers' experience in TikTok. It's from your customers' experience on Amazon. It's from your customers' experience with, Nike. It's their influence today by every touch point they have between them and their phone, and that's influencing what they expect from me as a brand, right? And especially in today's age where you have access to all of this data, they know you have access to all of this data. You took a loan application, right? Perhaps you did their last loan. So I do think that the impetus is on us in financial services to use that information very well, obviously, highly compliantly, highly ethically, be great stewards of our customer, but also to provide them with a delightful experience that actually makes them feel like we know who they are, because that is the expectation today. Everything around them is getting just a little bit smarter every single interaction, and they come with that same expectation when they land at our door. It's not like they go, oh, well, I'm expecting a below level experience today because,
Yeah.
it's mortgage. No, actually, everything is, everybody's looking for a delightful and personalized experience.
Hmm.
I also think, Peter, that and Jessica, that things have gone to extremes, meaning if you're in need mode, you expect personalization at a high level now. People are starting to expect it more and more, meaning need, meaning you have high intent, you're searching, I need a mortgage, this better be right, it better be
Mhm.
delightful, it better be great. And the more personalized it is, I think the better. When people are in want mode, meaning they don't know if they want a mortgage yet, or they don't know if they want your product yet, and they need kind of some more, you got to get on their radar. I think people are also looking for highly authentic, real people because there's a flood of Gen AI content hitting the market, and they almost want influence more than ever, right? They almost want to be part of a um, watch a YouTube series or a podcast, or be a fly on the wall and the All In podcast, right? Like they're kind of, when they're in this kind of want, like, I don't know yet, yeah, I'm not in high intent need. They're almost seeking more authenticity and more humanity. Um, but I think once you're in need mode, right, I think that personalization now is super hot,
Right.
especially with content,
Hmm.
because you've already shown me a signal or an insight that there might be a little spark of a need. And the more personalized I am, the more likely I am to get you down the road.
Right, right. Okay, that's just super interesting, Bill. So, just for the audience, if you have a question, hit the Q&A button. We will be getting to questions here in a little bit. So Bill, I want to talk about the competitive landscape. You're obviously you're not working in a vacuum here. There's large traditional banks with massive marketing budgets that are competing in this space. I mean, and everyone's talking about adopting similar technologies. So, how do you see the competitive landscape evolving?
Um, you mean in finance?
Yeah, in finance
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that I think calling a bank is probably an insult these days, right? You don't want to be a bank. I think everyone's morphing into becoming a destination,
Mm,
and that destination could be lifestyle meets marketplace meets, recommendation engine, right? Like an advisory experiences. And I think that everybody's working on their version of, this ultimate high value destination and digital destination. And this digital destination, in my opinion, is one that, um, knows you. You might want to, and the holy grail is to visit it every day, right? Maybe twice a day, three times a day. And the question is, um, what is its functionality? And I think that everyone is working on different ways to skin that cat, right? They're all working on, do I build the ultimate marketplace, right? That gives you incredible access. Is it an access strategy, right? Others are working on, I mean, I really admire what American Express is doing, right? Where it almost feels like, obviously they're a membership, but their digital experience feels like a club, right?
right.
It's got lots of content, a lot of access to lifestyle, aspirational things. So everyone is working on being some kind of media, I believe,
mhm.
channel that has a back end marketplace, that leads to connectivity to next best offer. Um, and everyone's going about it at different angles, slightly
So,
different angles.
is there room for, like, if you look at the big content platforms, there's not 100. We got thousands of banks. Um, is like It's like is everyone going to be able to create a successful media destination, or are we talking about a winner take most here, or at least a handful are going to get most of the eyeballs?
I think when it comes to fintechs will, I believe, will always be the incubator, the exciting, right,
Hmm.
novel niche, right, sector. I think when it comes to the big banks, the ones that pick and choose the best of the fintech community and bring it into their experiences, and they transition from being a bank to being the ultimate, media fintech experience, will win. I don't know if, look, some banks are def or large financial institutions are more in tune with culture and social, and have that easy leap to becoming, like a daily media destination. So I think they probably have a leg up. And other banks are, might have insane data, like might have incredible data that they could now leverage towards marketplace and content, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I think the ones that will probably win are the ones that have spent some investment in brand and in culture, because it would be an easy transition for me to hang out at American Express and learn about cooking, cacio de pepe with a famous chef, and then book my trip to Umbria, right? With my Amex card, right? Like it's kind of an easier transition, but I mean, look at Mastercard. Mastercard is probably the one leading the charge right now as far as data, and they have a unbelievable opportunity to become that daily destination as well, right?
What's your perspective, Jessica? Because better, right now, like in the mortgage lending, refinancing space. I mean, do you agree with Bill that everyone or the top players should become a destination?
I think today we all have this obligation um, to create an authentic experience with our customers, right? Uh, as a fan, I can go on X and have a conversation with any politician for the most part, or any celebrity for the most part. You have this opportunity today as a brand to be there for customers who want to engage and who want a fully integrated experience. It's not 30 years ago where you start work at 9 and you get off of work at 5 o'clock, and you have these hard stops and starts with your life. Your life is so much more integrated today. And it's not a brand situation from 50 years ago where, a brand was an inaccessible, an inaccessible entity. It's now something that you can have a relationship with, that can understand you, and that you can engage with. So I think we're in a very unique place, and everything that Bill said really resonates because it is about authenticity. It really is about being able to create a platform for customers, but also to be able to, to engage with them, to understand them, and to provide really meaningful value. I think at the end of it, if you're not providing value and you're not providing substance, then it's a very transactional and shallow experience, and that's not going to build brand in the long run.
Right, right. Got it. Okay. Okay. So, Jessica, on our prep call, you said that this year we're going to see more change in mortgage lending than in the past 70 years. What is it that makes this particular year so transformative?
Yeah, that's a great question, Peter. And I don't know if it's 70 years, but it is a tremendous amount of change that we're going to undergo. But I don't think we're undergoing it alone. I think every industry right now is trying to figure out how to adopt and pivot in the new world of AI. And it is a deep and meaningful change that can drive real benefit for customers, right? As a mortgage company with an AI platform, 40% of our loan files are instantaneously underwritten with AI. What does that enable? Enable you to do as a mortgage lender? Well, the goal is to be able to lower the cost to originate and be able to pass savings on to the customer, right? The goal is to be able to shorten the amount of time it takes to get approved for a mortgage, to get a pre-approval letter. It's to be able to shorten the amount of time it takes to get through the mortgage experience, to lower the overall cost, to increase the savings. So I think we have, not just in mortgage, but really in just about every industry, from physicians to attorneys to any industry today, is figuring out how to implement AI in a way that will be valuable and beneficial for their customers, and that can ultimately be very transformational for customers today. In the mortgage experience, it means you can get, pre-approved in 3 minutes. You can lock your own loan online or over the phone with Betsy in 15 minutes. And it just means that you can have a more seamless experience. But I think it is all really shifting very quickly, Peter.
Right. Yeah, it really is. Uh,
Could I ask
yeah.
Jessica? I think what's so fascinating about your business is control and empowerment is going to be so prevalent now that with all the investments that you're making, right? Like it's almost like a mortgage was always a bit scary because, there's a credit score, there's judgment, there's like, it's almost like that is pass or fail. Am I going to get it? What's the rate? Can I afford it? But like what you're doing in your investment in the experience is just going to create so much confidence and assurance and control for the American and global consumer. I mean that's what's so fascinating for me. It feels like you could go self-serve, walk away with the best rate in, like you said, minutes, and be able to go take on whatever you want to take on, this huge life decision of buying a home, right? Without that nervousness, that kind of, I don't know. Like I remember when I bought my first home, my wife and I were so nervous about speaking to loan officers,
Yeah.
right? You're completely flipping the script. Like the actual psychological part of this is really interesting to me.
Oh, you couldn't be more right about that. And so many customers are that way, especially millennial and Gen Z, right? It's like, I want to resolve the asymmetry of information. I want to learn before I talk to somebody who's going to sell me. And so I absolutely think you're right about that. And it is empowerment. It is putting the steering wheel in your hands and allowing you to take control and empower yourself of your own financial destiny, but with help and with a person when you're at that stage and when you're ready. So it is a very exciting time to be a consumer. It's a very exciting time to be a mortgage lender today. And it's a super exciting time to be a marketer with all of these tools to do the things that we dreamed of doing a decade ago, but didn't
Yeah.
have the tools in order to do them. And now, if there's not a tool available, we'll go to sleep, wake up tomorrow because probably somebody's going to launch it today.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really, I mean, things are moving incredibly fast. So, and maybe that's kind of, I'd love to kind of get your perspective, both of you actually, on how, like, we're at this moment in time that things like you go and play around with Betsy and it is amazing, transformational. But as you say, like we might look back, I'm sure we will look back in 2 or 3 years' time of this is like a 1.0 and kind of, not nearly as good as what it can become. So how is how are you seeing? Maybe I'll start with you, Jessica, and just seeing how are you seeing this evolving, particularly when it comes to sort of the interactive customer experience.
Oh, sure. So, I'd say, look, there you are 100% right, Peter. We're at the very beginning of a very long journey, and it is advancing really quickly. So, as I mentioned in September when we launched Betsy, there was very limited functionality. It's a call and a hey, how are you? And are you ready to do this thing? And let me get you over to somebody. And now it's a much more involved and highly capable solution. I think the next iteration is going to be these agents, at least Betsy and others, actually doing the task, right? So, having the conversation today, she can pull your credit, quote you an interest rate, lock the loan. In the next iteration, there's probably other tasks that she's going to be able to do as well, whether that's on the internal version where she's answering questions for loan officers, underwriters, processors. Oh, this is the problem with this loan file. It's an income issue, and here's a great way to resolve it. And to be able to then say, would you like me to go do that? Would you like me to go take that action? I think some of the change, Peter, is going to come internally for those of us working in the business, right? To retrain your brain to think differently, to ask different
Hmm.
questions, to not just think about how did I do this before or how did I service customers before, but really, changing your own brain, rehardwiring your own brain to say, oh, can Betsy do this? Or can, name your solution, do that? And really, um, kind of thinking again from first principles on what are the jobs to be done, what do consumers actually need, and then how do we go do them, not to produce incremental change, but really to think different about how we approach all sorts of problems and all sorts of opportunities.
Right, right. Because that's the thing. I remember when I took out a loan from a large bank, God, it was about 10 years ago now. I worked out it was like 20 to 25 hours of my time that was needed to respond to all of the requests, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of documentation. Like, if you can take that down to, like, 4 or 5 hours, I think that would be amazing. And as you say, like, it's a lot of it's just a data and connectivity problem,
Yeah.
and sounds like you're well on your way there. So I think that's, it's amazing, what the less burden on the customer, and not only becomes less scary, it becomes less burdensome. So Bill, what about on the sort of AI powered content feeds? How are you seeing this evolving? Where, like, if you look at this as a 1.0, where are we going?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to customer experience as well. I think that typically with what we're doing with content, where we're specifically talking about feeds, which is really about upsell and cross sell, right? And time spent and retention, not really, they're not really designed to, you know, um, uh, bring in traffic. They're really designed to monetize traffic. I think the way we're monetizing our consumer, I know that sounds horrible, but like the way we're upselling our consumer, what's going to change there is that it's not just about great content that meets your needs and your demographics and your persona, but it's also about giving you access to the best offers and giving you access to what you need based on what we know about you, right? So, right now, if you could create this, like what's next is really about, could that offer, instead of it coming as an APR rate into your feed, can it come in the form of an avatar that is presenting the offer to you, and then you can engage with that avatar to answer questions? That might be the new offer,
Hmm.
right? And it could be video based. And I think that that is very doable today. Like, if
Right.
you asked me to program myself, as someone who would deliver you your mortgage and explain all the details, I could have that done by the end of the day, and completely programmable. So I think what's going to happen is the way we're presented offers, the way we ask questions, additional questions, and then the way we interact with things beyond the product
Mhm.
are going to be hyper personalized in video format.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine I acquired a mortgage from Better, but then Better surrounds me with home ownership as a strategy, and it's all video based. It's like how to guard, from outside to inside to home improvement. I now have this kind of connectivity with the brand that they know I live in New Jersey. They know I have a one family. They know I probably have a certain amount of kids. And they're designing an ecosystem for me as being this helpful, meaningful, valuable brand in my life. So that when I go get my summer home mortgage, it's a no-brainer. I'm gonna use Better. And I think that's what's next. What's next is offers are not going to be transactionally presented. They're probably going to be in presented to you in through Betsy or personalized video. And then the interactivity of video is definitely going to change very fast, meaning I could
Yes.
interact with the video.
Thing, Bill. And in mortgage, that actually makes a very big difference, right? You're not by choosing tide or gain based on the scent profile, right? You're doing one of the largest, most complex financial transactions of your life. You mentioned buying a home for the first time and how high the uncertainty and the fear and how many questions there are. And we do know that customers tend to go with the first person that they speak and meet with. And for a long time, that wasn't available in direct to consumer, maybe available in retail if you have a local branch and so on. But in a consumer direct call center, it's not as available that somebody wants to meet over video. But you're absolutely right. The AI video consultation is definitely here. It's arriving, it's happening. And to be able to engage with that agent at any time of the day and have a personal conversation, it's for sure happening.
Wow. Okay, well, we've got to get to audience questions here. We're running out of time, so let's kick it off. What advice would you give to a financial institution that is just starting their AI journey?
I would say you're probably going to hear this 1,000 times. What data is the new gold, or whatever that cliche is. It's definitely true. So I think thinking about where your data is housed, how those systems are integrated. If you're applying a voice or chat agent to something where it has to go and reference this from your pricing engine and this from your eligibility engine and pull credit over here, that's many different hops, and that's going to really impact the latency, the quality of the conversation, how natural that feels. So I'd say thinking about the data first and foremost, capturing it, the accuracy and completeness of it, but also the accessibility of it for any kind of an AI agent or platform that you're building on it is crucial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would add absolutely data is the key, but I think that it's very hard to start on AI implementations and initiatives. And I think that what we found is we have a phrase called pilots and pirates. And the idea is that you find the people in your organization that are pirates that are just willing to go take that adventure and break rules and do things unconventionally and build as small as possible pilots. Because if you try and drink from the fire hose of AI, you get nowhere. There's zero momentum. It really is about very, very unique pilots with strong KPIs and make sure you staff it with pirates.
Yeah. And to pile on to that, yeah, I totally agree with you, Bill. It's also just changing, and your approach to it does this, right? It changes the culture. And I think that does start to build a life of its own when you have executive leadership putting a focus on this, writing it into job descriptions, writing it into, annual reviews, building reporting and celebrating people who are adopting, right? It starts with humans who want to figure out clever problems to solve with AI, and sometimes you have to open up the humans to think differently and to get them on board before you can have some really great use cases.
You're 100%. Like it's so funny how it's such a overused, right? It's like we hear it every day, 1,000 million times a day. But then you start to realize there are some humans that are just so up for the space travel trip. Like, I want to go. Like, I want to, like, they're the first volunteers to Mars, right? And you're like, I got to go with them first because the rest will
Mhm.
follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because some people are, they needed to be warmed up to it. And now it's becoming a culture thing, which is really, really great point.
All right. Okay, now next question. What have been the biggest challenges in implementing these AI systems, and how did you overcome them?
Mm.
Jessica, do you want to take that one?
Have we stumped you?
Sure. I from talking to the product teams who are working on this, I understand that the hardest challenge they've had is, Peter, you said you were listening to Betsy and it sounded so real you wouldn't know. That has been the hardest challenge is getting that voice to sound natural, to sound human, to sound warm, I think that had been probably the biggest challenge over time and lots of people hours deployed against that problem. Because if it's not a voice that sounds natural, that sounds authentic, that sounds warm, that you want to have a conversation with, then it doesn't matter how many capabilities it has.
Right.
I have the same answer, which is the hardest problem right now is replicating the excellence of human output. Meaning, like, if you're generating content with Gen AI, it better be amazing or we're not going to do it. Like,
Right.
why would you compromise,
Right.
right? I don't care how cheap it is, how fast it is. Why would we ever, as a brand, as a product, deliver an output that is less than excellent? And I think that that's been the hardest thing. And what's really exciting is that every week, like Jessica mentioned, it's just getting better and better and better. And we're at the point now where, look, it may not be as amazing as a George Clooney movie, but like I would this time next year, um, we're going to be blown away of how the quality of what we're delivering through an AI experience is as good or better than if it was made by humans and developers.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys have cracked the code on that, Bill. Like what Malka has done is just astounding, in the scale and the number of assets, but also the quality of them. You've got me spending some serious site time in the MoneyLion app. It is really impressive.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I have more questions here, but our time is pretty much done. So I tell you what, that was a fascinating conversation. I could talk for another hour. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. All of the people that were tuning in. So thank you very much to Jessica from Better. Thank you very much for Bill and Moneyline, the engine team, for making this all possible. It is a brave new world that we are entering into, and the more we understand it, the more successful we will be. So, with that, thanks again, and have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.